Stream live now.
Good evening and welcome to the Stratford-upon-Avon Town Council virtual personnel discussion pre-decision consultation. Firstly, apologies for the slight lateness. It was always going to happen. We had a small technical glitch, but we're ready to go now. Welcome to councillors and to Town Clerk for the meeting. We'll start with the agenda, please. Do we have apologies for absence, please, Town Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do. We have apologies from Councillors Mackenzie, Councillor Wall and Councillor Warren Howells.
Lovely, thank you. Any declarations of interest on items on the agenda, please? No, we're okay. Have we received any written requests for dispensation for disclosable pecuniary interests? No. Any members of the public wishing to participate? And it looks like not. So if we can go to agenda item 6 to approve the open minutes of the virtual personnel discussion pre-decision consultation held on the 29th of June. Any comments or reflections on those minutes? Councillor Frangeli?
No, I'm happy for them to be adopted.
I think we can. Just before we do, I just wanted to follow up on item 13, the employee assistance programme, which I know was almost immediately initiated following the town council meeting, and to say how grateful we are that this initiative has been introduced. I think it's a real standard bearer for our town council, for employees, officers, and for members and their families. It's a real security blanket. I'm not sure, and I don't really need to know who has, but from past experience, something like this can make all the difference to somebody's mental health, well-being, and their confidence working with and for an organisation. So I'd like to thank you, Sarah, personally, as well on behalf of all, for the initiative, which I think is well worthwhile.
Well, thank you for instigating it. I think it has already been used.
Well, brilliant, brilliant, and so it's great stuff. I'm really pleased. So, can we just approve those minutes, please? I think we're going for real hands, Councillor Frangeli, if we're approving. Thank you. So, if we can move then on to the Town Clerk's open report initially. Town Clerk, do you want to just run us through your open report? If there's anything
yes.
there you feel worthy of.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's really, as it says, what it says on the tin. We have adequate staff. We are a very tight team, and it works when everything's going well. And we have had hiccups and glitches, but it certainly, there is no need to increase the workforce for what we are currently doing. What is necessary, and it's becoming more and more necessary, we had a staff meeting this morning, and we go around the room and we advise on everything that's on our plates at the moment and what we're dealing with, etc. And one of the things that came up is that although we are closed, or in all intents and purposes at the moment, because obviously of the work that's going on, we are getting a lot of bookings for next year, a lot. And what is worrying us now, and it's an extreme worry, is that we have got event supervisors to oversee the event, but what we haven't got, because we have just lost Noel, who was our event assistant, in terms of setting everything up. So if we are going to take a very large booking on, say, let's say for a wedding on a Friday, and then somebody wants a wedding on a Saturday, or we want a coffee morning or whatever, we haven't got right now, because he's just resigned to go and take a full-time job somewhere else, somebody to set it up. We're not a hotel. We haven't got lots of people coming in and out and whatever. So it would either be a question of saying, sorry, we can only have one event because we can't turn it round, or we've actually got to really go all out to get a team of event assistants. Now, in my report, you've seen it's live on the website. We are advertising. I think if you could all tweet, or do you know anybody, etc. That's how it's working, isn't it? It's going to the recruitment fair next week. So the one downside of that, and you as a council and me, 0-hour contracts are abhorrent. They're just not fair to people because they don't know how much they're going to earn, and blah, they're dreadful. But in the way we work here, we have had 0-hour contracts because it's worked both ways. We'd said, can you work on Friday? No. Okay, fine, we'll find somebody else. They don't have to work. But I don't think when you look around now, nationally, we're going to find people knocking on our door saying, I want a job, when you can't tell them when they're going to work, and there'll be weeks when they're not working because we don't need them. So it's a real conundrum, and we've got to sort it out, because without getting the personnel here, we're actually almost disingenuous if we take the booking, because we can't guarantee that we've got the staff to turn it around.
So I think we'll go Victoria, then Ian. I think we can all contribute towards this. I certainly have got some points, but we'll go Victoria and then Ian, if we may, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sarah, what you're going to have to remind me, Town Clerk, what are the rules we have in place for the Town Hall for the age they're allowed to work?
We don't have that. We haven't got rules, and
there'll be the standard employment rules in terms of age and school time and availability. If you're thinking of a young person under 16, and then they vary, and of course from 18 onwards.
I only asked a question because I know of how many 16-year-olds at both the college and the high school who actually would like exactly what you've described. Occasional work. It depends on the times. We need this staff, obviously, because they're at school and they're at college. But how many 16-year-olds I know who finish at 4 o'clock at the college, but because a lot of the cafes and the restaurants are closing at that point, they actually need something that's later on. And I'm just wondering if we need to be targeting younger people instead, because it would fit in with their working with their school, with their college.
I would say that we should, I'll come on to my views on recruitment, but I say we target everybody. The age group most affected and most likely to be unemployable post-furlough are over 50s at the moment. That's not to say we should look at over 50s or under 20s, but I think, Sarah, actually, there's a huge market out there. The skill is tapping into them and the difficulty.
Yes,
and I've got some ideas in that respect. Ian, sorry, Victoria, was that anything else on that? No, sorted.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask something similar. I mean, is this job a physical job or an organisation?
Very much so.
It's physical.
It's physical.
And you don't want to think, you want somebody will.
Oh no!
Take some action.
In the nicest possible. I love Charlie and Chocolate Factory, and I lumpers and humpers, if you like, because no, you don't have. Emma and Pat, etc., sort all that out. It's just, will you come and put 300 chairs out? Oh, and then will you sanitize them? Because we've been misting them, defogging them, but we can't do that in the ballroom because of the paintings. I don't know, you know, that we just put it live because I wasn't going to try and employ somebody too soon and they got no work because we're closed. You know, we haven't got any events, but they are coming up in November.
So, yeah.
Victoria was sort of pitching for the youngsters. I suppose my pitch is for the retired.
My pitch is for anyone.
In fact, if I wasn't so busy doing council work, I'd probably volunteer myself.
Right. I'll tell you what. Here we go. First of all, this hasn't changed in 40 years, by the way, Sarah. We used to have banks of casual staff, and you can never have enough casual staff. That's a fact. And the idea is you phone up Victoria, yes, no. You phone up Ian, yes, no. You phone up Richard, yes, no. You phone up Sarah, yes, you're in.
Yeah.
And so this is what, first of all, the inquiries are coming in from November. What we could do with is I could do with, certainly, I don't know about others, is a quick update on dates, event, time numbers. Just very simple, that. Also, I did see your advert on Facebook, and I shared it both on the two forums and on another Facebook page as well. I will keep sharing that, and I think we all will. I can't remember if we had an hourly rate on there or not. And if we didn't, because sometimes people don't like to put them on, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't put it on as an hourly rate, but if you could just, when you send us that summary, the sort of typical hours, 4 till 6, 12 till 2, whatever it might be, 8 till, the problem won't be the afternoon, the problem will be the following morning, and they've got to get in before 10. This is reality.
Yes.
And the hours they are likely to work. And out of experience, how long does it take to hump and bump? Your phrase is quite right. We used to call them hump and bumpers in hotels. How long would it take to set up the room from scratch? And how long would it take to break it down? Because these are important things that we know. So then what we do is we look at every possible, and Victoria, everyone is quite right here, colour posters, A4 posters printed off, go to the schools, ask them to put them on the notice boards in the equivalent of whatever is the sixth form common room, into the college as well. It's old fashioned, but it still works. And this is what you're looking at doing. I'll come back in a minute, Ian. This is what you're looking to doing. And you don't just go for 1 or 2 people. And now I may not be right. And I don't think you have to offer us, we'll check on this detail, 0-hour contract. You can have people on a casual contract. And a casual contract is what it is. Here's what it used to be, and I'm pretty sure it is. If, for example, for 12 weeks, you work for 8 hours every week, doesn't matter whether it's Monday evenings and then 1 week and then Tuesday evening next week and Wednesday morning, and then you work a 13th week, I think that's a detail, you are de facto then on an 8-hour contract. So what you would do is, after 8 or 9 weeks, if you had to, you would say, I haven't got any work for you on week 9 or week 10. Now the skill then, the difficulty is recruitment, but the skill is managing that individual or those individuals, because you might have 4, 5 or 6 who can work in rotation. So, for example, people who play cricket in the summer may not do sport in the winter, they have spare time. But from the second week of April to the last week of September, you've got no chance of getting them on a Saturday, for example. So everything and everybody, young and old, we should be looking at. And actually, Ian, in a way, is quite right. A couple of 50 or 60 or 70-year-olds who, need a few bob extra are very happy to work for 8 hours a week, because whatever you're paying, $8.92 an hour, $9.50 an hour, I don't know what it is you're paying, that is, extra money, which makes all the difference. And if they did that every week of the month, they'll be putting in their pockets the best part of 250, 300 quid. So I don't think you should be despondent. You've done.
No, I'm not despondent. I'm just having had this meeting this morning, and we always honoured the engagements that we had in the diary,
right,
pre-COVID, pre this happening,
sure.
And everybody who was in the books came to see the town hall, and
Yeah.
some say they want to stay and some obviously cancelled, but they're certainly booking left, right and centre for next year.
Okay.
And
You'll get people in for next year. In the short term, the other one to do is to go to one of the casual catering agencies, and you just say, I need on Friday, let's say you've got an event this Saturday, and you need someone to set up on Friday. You say, I need 2 people, because that's how we need to know how long they need to be there. They're generally 4 hours. They won't do any less. Come in, or one person, I need them here at 6. I'll be gone at 10. And they're just setting up. That's all they're doing. And finally, you might think this is ironic, but a lot of the hotels are not doing functions now at the moment. I mean, some of them are quite cautious about what they are prepared to do and not prepared to do, and all their staff are not back full time. So they are not opening in some respects. So those people who were on full time, went to furlough, have come back off furlough, may only be going back on 80% contracts. So,
Right.
you know, I know it's a bit of extra admin work here, but do you have any members of staff, any casuals they're just setting up function rooms? You're not asking them to do silver service. You're not asking them to do any of that. You know, and for those people who may want to follow this up with a career, you never know. It can be I started off washing dishes and moving tables.
So
I
there's
think
a little bit more than that. I mean, but they polished the floors, and you know, it's a little bit of maintenance as well.
Yeah, that anybody with a half bit of wit can do it. So I wouldn't be you're paying them for 4 hours, 3 hours of setting up, 1 hour of cleaning, and whatever. I don't know how it breaks down. So there's a whole mass of people out there, and they'll be able to do it. Just the nitty-gritty is to tighten up on what they are working on. Casual hours, I would say.
Yeah,
not unreasonable. Victoria.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I was also a similar vein to Richard, but not quite. I know several of the hotels around Stratford, they use an agency.
Who are they using at the moment?
Sorry?
Do you know who they're using at the moment, Victoria?
No, but I'm
I'm
pretty sure I could go and find out.
Yeah, well, I'll ask Helen as well.
It's a couple of emails to friends of mine in hotels. Like Richard said, because they're not doing as many functions themselves at the moment, they're outsourcing that work to agencies.
Yeah.
I don't know the cost. I don't know who the agency is, but I'm more than willing to see if I can find out.
I think the cost element does come into this. I mean, you know, we all know the minute you start getting agency workers cost a lot of money, whether it's for the NHS or teaching supplies or whatever. In fact, a lot of our engagements here are pro bono. We still have to do them, you know, this is the village hall, if you like. I also think one of the reasons why you can't get any staff is, you know, it's their market now and wages have got to go up. So it's the same when my sister administered it in a care home. She paid over the odds and she never lost her staff.
I mean, that's never been any different. So I think you get what you pay for. You're not looking for any skill. You're not looking for anyone giving personal care, and you will pay more. So if we say you're paying £9 an hour, you'll pay £12 an hour to an agency because they're covering the on costs. So if it's a short-term need or if it's a last-minute need, that's the option.
Oh, that's different.
And
long-term.
Yeah, long-term, you will recruit. I've no doubt about it. Now, it might be you recruit somebody, they're here for 3 months, someone else, but this is not a job that takes more than one session, I would hope, for someone to learn what to do. And it means that whoever's supervising has to be clear about what they're asking them to do. And Stratford is blessed across the piece with generally reasonably bright people, particularly as Victoria says, you know, sixth formers and college students. They've got a bit of wit about them. I genuinely don't think there's a problem about the numbers of people in. I think there is a problem with people working in the service industry because we like to receive service in this country, but we don't like to give it. We don't like to clear tables, carry someone else's bags, clean someone else's bedroom, let alone give somebody personal care. But that's different from humping and bumping. You're not serving. You may never see anybody apart from whoever's supervising them. The room just needs to be set up, then you clear off, and then whoever's running the show runs the show, the caterers or whatever, or the town hall staff get the coffee out, don't they, or whatever it's happening. And somebody you find someone expands themselves and they're more capable and they like it because it's a pleasant enough working environment. In fact, it's an interesting working environment. So I think all of those things, I'm a great believer in, all options should be considered. And I think apart from whatever's come up in the short term, which might cause a bit of a wobble, in the medium to long term, I don't think that, and we'll all keep our ears and eyes open. I mean, we all know people, we've got family who work locally, and half the time I hear some people are having their hours cut. They need more work.
Yeah.
And again, there by the grace of God, £20 universal credit you see a week. And let's face it, it may be that you need the room set up for Saturday morning, but someone can come in and do that between 10 and 2 on a Friday. Well, drop the kids off at school, whatever you do, doesn't matter. Mum or dad, come in, do it, go back, be there for the kids. It doesn't have to be done between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock on a Friday evening necessarily, does it?
No, and actually the other thing, I mean, somebody mentioned this morning, they said, well, they'd have to have a key. Yeah, they would have to have a key because they're an employee. This isn't casual labour. This is, we're taking you on to be our event assistant. Noel had a key. He can come and do it at 10 o'clock at night. I don't care when it's done.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm very concerned that we are getting all these inquiries now and we are taking the bookings. But I know right now, fortunately there for next year, right now, we haven't got the staff to turn them round.
I think you'll be all right. I think anyway, in the short term, if push comes to shove, I think we'd be able to organise half a dozen people to get in there and turn the room round. If you had an event this Friday, there wouldn't be a problem. I would follow those and any other ideas you've got. I mean, we've got the job centre now on Wood Street, haven't we?
Yes.
And it's probably one of the least busy job centres in the country, I suspect, even now. But wandering in and having a personal conversation at job centres always made a difference. They put a face to the person. They know. They will rattle through their old-fashioned card index, which they probably don't use. And you made that contact with them, and it's much easier. Plus, any of the employment, the back to work organisations, the organisations, where, I don't know, voluntary organisations. There are people who are desperate for work out there and want a chance to do some work, even if it's just 8 hours a week or 4 hours a week. As long as they're treated fairly, clearly explain what to do. And I mean, of course, Noel could come in at 10 at night, probably not necessary, given today's circumstances, assuming they can get into the room and set it up. So
anyway, I just thought I needed to flag it up.
No, fair enough. But we will continue to share and continue to look and continue to point people in your direction. The biggest worry is when you've got too many people interested, then it's the real. You will get people, I'm quite convinced.
And if we do get too many people, that's when we have a list of casuals that can be called on for some larger events as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know. And who do you know? You talk to your caterers, they always need staff. You say, I've got these people, they're all very presentable. You can train them up and use them. So I think we'll be all right. But if you could send a list of, or get that list of events, timings, the time it takes to set up, breakdown, rate of pay, and then we've got information to go on when we're talking to people. Because that's what you want to know. If I cast my mind back to an energetic 16-year-old, as I once was last year. Okay. All right. So I think we know what needs to happen there. Any of the other points on there? Performance management onwards? You want to bring up, discuss? Anything outstanding?
Yes, with regards to performance management, I'd be quite grateful, Mr. Chairman, and if we could put this into confidential, because I need to convey some personal information which would identify the people.
Okay,
Okay, fine.
we'll move that one forward. I'm just looking through, just remuneration, all very open and public, that's clear. Budget requirement, to determine and recommend the budget and reserve requirement. There's a bit of work to be done there for all committees, I think.
Yes.
I've got to have a look at, you know, exactly what, and put that to finance so that the finance officer can properly produce at least, you know, initially a sensible draft that we can firm up on as we go along. We know there's going to be various drafts before we get to the final budget.
Mr. Chairman, can we just sorry, go back a bit, because
Yes, of course.
I've asked, can we move number 2 into confidential, but remuneration, etc. You're all happy to just note the reports?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's all reasonable. We're not, you know, that is literally for noting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're going to go take well-being into confidential.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. What about this budget?
Well, I think the issue here is that is it true that there's in the budget, there's no budget, is that what we're saying at the moment about what the likely pay increase is? So do you want a recommendation there for the finance officer?
No, not really. I've put your budget, the proposed budget, in your appendices. It's really whether you had a look at this proposal. Is are we about right there? Is, you know, this is the first draft of the first draft, if you like, and every committee is being asked to look at their budgets so that we can give I can report back to the RFO. I mean, it's not set in stone, but looking at it, is this the sort of thing that you're?
We're only looking at those elements of thing in terms of personnel, aren't we?
Yes.
And crossed over. I mean, he's got it.
Yeah, if I can just come in. Richard, is that
yes,
right?
of course. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, looking at that first part of the draft budget, it is exactly what you say. It is the draft. It is the first stepping stone we have. Can I request through you, Chair, please, that we actually ask our responsible finance officer to come and talk to us about the personnel budget, what exactly it is we need to be looking at, and to explain what he has there already and possibly what contingencies we need to be looking at.
I think that's reasonable.
Yes, I just think that actually a bit more information here from the RFO might just help help strengthen our budget in the way that it needs to be.
Councillor, this is you've just cracked it, as far as I'm concerned, that is the sort of thing that, having read those papers, you should have said, I need more information on this, because I could have got Phil here, because your next meeting is ages away. It's next year.
Right.
And it's a prime example of saying, this is when you need to contact us before the meeting so that we can arrange for just what you've asked for.
I think we're all going to learn here, really, in terms of clarity and the breakdown of the, because unless I'm mistaken, this is a PDF. What we don't see is a breakdown, for instance, the personnel expenditure, 21,000. what we don't see what that includes. We can see the salaries and wages, and to be blunt, if you look at those, you would say in related costs, those would be the on costs. Unless we all had a spreadsheet with everybody's wages on and the staff structure, the labour plan, we have to assume that those are correct.
Yes.
I mean, there's no, and we have to assume that all the other things are correct because they are what they are. And some of them don't fall into personnel, bluntly. Office equipment and furniture and stationery, that's based on.
Well, that does come under you because this committee looks after this in terms of where we work and how we work. So that's why it's now yours.
So presumably there's some rationale for that. And, you know, either everything has got to be broken down in detail or we have to make some assumptions. And we are going to start splitting hairs around all these areas of expenditure. And this is where it becomes very nuanced, particularly year on year. So, you know, actuals in 2021, year to date 2021-22, professional fees, you know, apparently are, you know, were budgeted for 13,800. We've only spent, with 4 months to go, October, November, December, 3 months to go. Oh, these are for the whole rest till April,
yes,
aren't they? Yeah,
we're
till
halfway
April.
through the
Okay,
year
halfway
now.
through the year.
Yeah.
5,750, and we're budgeted 13,800, and we're budgeting more next year. If we were going to do this, and you're quite right, probably every one of those lines we would need a breakdown of. And that's not easy. That is more than just a short meeting, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
It is. So, and you would just have to take those as read. And they are based on experience and trends of previous years and anything that's known. And the only, you know, even including newspapers, there's an amount put in for those, and the fixed costs of rates, heats. I mean, there may be something in heating and lighting that Phil's got to change now because of the news in the last month. The only one that I would say is what is included in the personnel expenditure. Possibly. Oh. That's probably the only one looking at it now that, you know, isn't clear what is included in that.
That's the town hall commercial management.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the 21,000?
I am. Yeah.
That is the staff involved with events.
Okay.
So that's what that is.
Right, that's not their salary. That's just the cost of them. So that's their salaries and
exactly.
Whatever.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I mean, Phil's made some sensible judgments. I don't know what anyone else's view is on it. You know, based on what he knows his need and so on and so. This is the problem with a budget of any kind, isn't it?
I mean, I think that there are certain things, as you say, you know, the salaries. That's you've got to pay salaries, so that's that. Recruitment, and you'll have seen from the agenda that there are issues. Is that enough? For
well, that depends. If you recruit 2 operatives tomorrow at the job fair or next week, the 12th, isn't it? The job fair. There's no recruitment costs there.
No,
I mean,
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. So, but I don't know. I think personally, from what I can see, here's a crystal ball. You know, you actually don't know, because somebody might turn around to me tomorrow and say, "Oh, I'm leaving, by the way. Here's my notice."
I know.
So
that's when you would look at cost and you would go, I've got a exceptional cost potentially coming here. Can we agree it, or do we have to not spend the money on, you know, the same as repairs, isn't it? Can you kick something down the road, or can you avoid paying this now? Is there another way of doing it? So the budget is just giving you an indication, and that is why budgets rarely meet reality on variable costs. So we can see travel and subsistence, the top line, in the year before, 250 quid budgeted, we only spent 35 quid, etc. Some are more, some are less, aren't they? It's a nature of it. Any comments there from anybody? Ian, any commentary?
I'm getting slightly confused, I think. I mean, this chart that I got in front of me, I was saying that we as personnel committee have to agree to all this.
Well, every budget, every committee now has a budget. So this used to go to finance, and this was all changed in the new structure that each committee would be responsible for its own budget.
But why is personnel responsible for determining equipment rental, for instance?
Because we work here at the town.
I've got it. That's part of their working the staff's requirements to work.
I can appreciate that, but I wouldn't really have a clue as to what you're renting in the first place.
Well, that's my point about having an absolute breakdown. So that's when you trust your finance officer, financial controller, to make sure that they know what those amounts are. Are there going to be any increases year on year? And actually, if you look at equipment rental, that looks like it's.
I'd say it's we've spent 948.
Yeah, the implication would be we're going to spend 1,800, and if you look in the year 2020, 21, we spent actually 1,313.
Yeah, that's right.
Now here's the thing: when we're talking about our budgets, and bear in mind, the overall budget dictates our surplus deficit and how much we spend, and then we look at our reserves. If we were really to go hard on the budget and say, well, okay, Mr. Finance, we don't need to put 2,200 in, but we'll put 1,500 in because we only spent 1,300. Then you start looking at a tight budget. You may then think, oh, I've got more I can put in reserves, so I can spend more on a statue, or I can spend more on a carpet, or I can spend more on refurbishment or on the mayor's car. Budgets are just, it's like when you go on holiday, isn't it? You take £200 spending away and you only end up spending £150. But if you only take 150 quid, you don't have enough money for the last day if you've gone a bit giddy.
Good job we got credit cards these days.
Well, we haven't yet. Well, that may be. Yeah. So I don't think we should, my view generally is, for personnel, we're not going to get involved in any projects. The other areas might do. So they have an idea they want to spend more on dog bins, or they want to spend more on an event. Personnel is what it is. The only time you're going to spend significantly more is if we increase the staff levels or increase the wages significantly. Victoria, yes, sorry.
I think I actually disagree with that, because we may not have projects like the town centre project or Bridge Street project or anything like that, but our project is things like training. It's things like helping staff, go forward with their careers and training that they need. So actually, our projects may not be a town centre project, but we still have projects because we want to ensure that our staff have the opportunity to move their career forward, and how we can help them do that. So our project, we still have projects, we just have different ones.
But we've got 7,655 quid in training.
Yes.
Now the question is, unless we have a particular specific and we look at it year on year, we seemingly don't spend anywhere near that amount, or B, is there something that we'd want to spend? That's probably Sarah's question, isn't it? Would you like to increase the training budget because we have a specific area that, given where we are, would add to that cost of training?
Well, Ian, could I ask a question there? If we take planning, is it up to the planning committee to suggest, or say if Lisa or Margot needed some training in planning, would that come from the planning section or what?
It would come from the planning section, but it would come to me, and it would come out of the personnel budget, if you like.
Right.
But I mean, if you think, or Margot thinks, that she needs specific training on planning, and this comes out in the appraisals as well. You know, that is one of the questions that is always asked. Are there skill sets that you think you would be able to achieve if you went on appropriate training? And is there anything missing that you would like training on right now, for example? And certainly with me, for example, I mean, I need to keep going to the SLCC conference and the NALP conference, and just to keep ahead of everything that's changing all the time, because legislation changes all the time. You know, we had SIL. Well, at one time we didn't know what we didn't have SIL. What's SIL? And that's just an example. But I mean, training, as far as I'm concerned, is vital. I totally agree with Councillor Walcott, but we do have a budget for that rather than a project. I can't think necessarily of a project for the personnel committee.
But if it were if you did come up with some essential training and it was going to cost a significant amount of money, then we would go back to whichever committee and we would say, can we do that? Can we afford it? Can we take money from here? Have we got it in the contingency?
Yes.
But we don't. This is that classic thing of unknown unknowns, isn't it? Or known, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah. But when you take, for example, if we go back in, and when I was employed as town clerk, one of the stipulations was that I had to get the qualification in local administration and local government. Well, you paid for that. And so that the town hall can be licensed, I had to go and get my personal license, which the town council paid for that. Equally with Tony Holt, he is he has a badge. He's a proper whatever you call doorman. So you know what I mean. This is a proper qualification. Equally, the cemetery staff have got Lantra. Because they put things on streets, so they have to have that qualification. Training, you say, Councillor Boss, that if when we get our, another member of the events team, well, it shouldn't take them very long. Well, it does, because they have to go on manual handling courses. They, first aid courses. You can't just go, oh, well, shove this thing here. These days, the legislation to do anything is so extreme that training is essential. We've got to have.
I'm assuming all that is budgeted already.
Yes, it's in training. It's in training.
Yeah, I can see that. So the point about coming back to the budget is, unless we have a genuine reason now, there's no point in doing anything other than noting it and saying, right, this is a first draft, and paying attention to it, which really, this is our first warning that we need to make sure that before this gets to its final draft and agreed draft, we are really all happy with it. And that's the nature of a first draft, isn't it?
Yes. And I think also, we don't have to do this now because it's not happened, so it's completely and utterly hypothetical. But if this needs to be kept by this committee, because if there's a directive from either council or the finance and scrutiny committee to say we need to cut the budget, then actually we'll be looking at it with a different view. Is it what can we cut safely?
Yeah.
I think, it wasn't a question to note, but I think I need to feed back to Phil that, yes, they've looked at it. Nothing jumped out that's outrageous, or we need to add this. But one thing that I think Phil, I know he did, he told me that he hasn't put any salary increase, the cost of living, because the unions are still in dispute at this time for the 2021 uplift, let alone 2022. And I think he should.
I'd agree with that. And that's what right at the beginning, I thought we were referring to be honest. I would say that he should put in his 2.75% or whatever it is that's been agreed. It's
Well,
unlikely to, yeah.
The unions, the employers have gone back to the unions to say the offer is 1.75.
Right.
It's I think 2 point something for for the substantial benchmark 1.
Yeah.
But everybody else would be offered 1.75, and that's that's it. And I think we should do the same for the next year, actually. When you look at what's happening, there's no money, is there? So
no, I think we should budget for that, and that would be, that is, there is going to be a wage increase. So you take a best estimate on the information you have, which is what you're being told by the authorities at the moment.
Yes.
Are we okay with that, Victoria, Ian?
Yeah.
Not to put it in would be remiss, because it's only going to come and bite us on the bum at the end, isn't it? Because it's going to be there. Mm-hmm. The other question I would just ask him is, has he, since he's done this, does he need to put something in for additional energy costs, which, like it or not, are going up?
Yes.
Can't hide from that.
Mm. Thank you. I'll convey that to the RFO.
It's a tough job for any financial officer who's budgeting in any organisation at this level. It's not. It's a really tough job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. Are we all right? We move on from there. So we're going to put well-being into confidential.
Yeah.
General commentary on maintenance. This is just for information.
Yes, purely and utterly for information. It's ongoing. You can see what it's like. I did go up with the team last week and did the complete inspection on every level. And it is actually quite horrifying when you get close up. You don't notice it from the ground. And they have found far more work that is necessary. Anyway, this is coming to council, so I just thought I would.
Interesting, though.
Yeah.
Okay, am I right in thinking we finished now with the open report and we should now move into confidential?
If that's in agreement.
Are we happy with that, Councillor Franklin? Yeah, we're moving to confidential. So we now need to turn off the live YouTube. Okay.
Okay, so thank you to anyone who's been watching. We're just going into confidential.